Does Joe Biden have a point on abortion? How we doing, guys? My name is Sam Mealy.
My name is Hunter Young.
And today we're going to be reacting to the recent presidential debate for the 2024 election between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. And there was one specific point in the debate that we want to talk about. You know, a day after the debate, all your popular conservative commentators, they came out with, the typical reaction you'd expect from a conservative. It's almost like they pre-recorded it. Biden sucks. Yeah, we get it. He's a blabbering idiot. Like, Trump was okay. Like, yeah, we don't want to just jump on the bandwagon. We agree. We want Trump to get elected. Biden was a doddering idiot. But I think there's something that Biden actually said in the debate that was very interesting and that should get us as Trump supporters thinking about what Trump believes on this particular issue. But before we get into that, please like this video, subscribe to the Sons of Liberty podcast channel, and share this with anybody you think would like this content or maybe disagree with this content. We've definitely been having a lot of haters lately. First it was the atheists, now it's the Catholics, but that's some podcast lore for anybody who really follows us closely. But we're gonna watch this clip from the debate and then we'll discuss.
This is the first presidential election since the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. This morning, the court ruled on yet another abortion case, temporarily allowing emergency abortions to continue in Idaho, despite that state's restrictive ban. Former President Trump, you take credit for the decision to overturn Roe v. Wade, which returned the issue of abortion to the states.
Correct.
However, the federal government still plays a role in whether or not women have access to abortion pills. They're used in about 2/3 of all abortions. As president, would you block abortion medication?
First of all, the Supreme Court just approved the abortion pill, and I agree with their decision to have done that, and I will not block it. And if you look at this whole question that you're asking, complex but not really complex. 51 years ago, you had Roe v. Wade, and everybody wanted to get it back to the states. Everybody, without exception. Democrats, Republicans, liberals, conservatives. Everybody wanted it back. Religious leaders. And what I did is I put 3 great Supreme Court justices on the court, and they happened to vote in favor of killing Roe v. Wade and moving it back to the states. This is something that everybody wanted. Now, 10 years ago or so, they started talking about how many weeks and how many this, getting into other things. But every legal scholar throughout the world, the most respected, wanted it brought back to the states. I did that. Now the states are working it out. If you look at Ohio, it was a decision that was an end result that was a little bit more liberal than you would have thought. Kansas, I would say the same thing. Texas is different. Florida is different. But they're all making their own decisions right now. And right now, the states control it. That's the vote of the people. Like Ronald Reagan, I believe in the exceptions. I am a person that believes. And frankly, I think it's important to believe in the exceptions. Some people, you have to follow your heart. Some people don't believe in that. But I believe in the exceptions for rape, incest, and the life of the mother. I think it's very important. Some people don't. Follow your heart. But you have to get elected also. And because that has to do with other things. You got to get elected. The problem they have is they're radical because they will take the life of a child in the 8th month, the 9th month, and even after birth. After birth, if you look at the former governor of Virginia, he was willing to do this. He said, we'll put the baby aside and we'll determine what we do with the baby, meaning we'll kill the baby. What happened is we brought it back to the states, and the country is now coming together on this issue. It's been a great thing.
Thank you. President Biden?
It's been a terrible thing, what you've done. The fact is that the vast majority of constitutional scholars supported Roe when it was decided, supported Roe. And that's this idea that they're all against it is just ridiculous. And this is the guy who says the state should be able to have it. We're in a state where in 6 weeks, you don't even know whether you're pregnant or not, but you cannot see a doctor and have him decide on what your circumstances are, whether you need help. The idea that states are able to do this is a little like saying we're going to turn civil rights back to the states, that each state have a different rule.
So did you catch that? Through all the rambling and everything, did you catch that? The point that Joe Biden made?
It was kind of like, a decent point.
So he made the point, like saying abortion should go back to the states. It's the same thing as saying civil rights in terms of segregation and slavery or anything.
The Civil Rights Act of the 1960s is what
but you could he is specifically talking about that, but anything.
Yeah.
should go back to the states.
Joe Biden, he's not saying that. That's not inherently a conservative belief, because he's trying to equate the fight for civil rights, for the Civil Rights Act and getting rid of racism to keeping abortion and making it a constitutional right. So he's trying to say, by saying that he believes abortion should be a constitutional right. That's not what we agree with. But what he's doing here is that he's forcing Trump to make a moral claim on abortion itself. Because he's saying, well, having abortion at the state level is like bringing the Civil Rights Act back to the states, and we'll let that state can have segregation, but this state won't, But if from a conservative's perspective of hearing like I heard this live, and this is what I thought immediately. This is not what Joe Biden meant, but this is what I thought immediately, is that if segregating people on the basis of race is inherently wrong, should it not be a law to make that wrong at the highest court in the land, at the highest civil authority in the land? If it's wrong, shouldn't it be wrong at the highest level? But if it's kind of like a gray area, I guess, whatever. But this is wrong. Like, racism is clearly wrong. It should be wrong at the highest level. Well, we as conservatives, we also believe abortion is wrong. And Trump, I think he believes abortion is wrong. I mean, he just, at the beginning of the clip, he says he believes in the exceptions of rape, incest, and the life of the mother, which, right, life of the mother, that's a red herring that we won't go into right now. But he also says that it's brutal and it's radical, is the word he said, to have a late term abortion in the 8th or 9th month, or even after birth.
And he also said, follow your heart. And he said, kind of, I believe in this, they believe in that. Leave it up to the states. So and he also said, you got to get elected. Admittedly.
Which he said the quiet part out loud.
Admittedly.
Which I appreciate. He was actually very upfront and honest about what he believes about abortion. I think that's going to help everyone, because it's allowing Republicans to have the conversation about abortion in election season, which I think is very important, because too many Republicans are like, oh, we can't, during the election year, we can't talk about abortion. We just have to get through it and then we'll try to do stuff. No, I think talking about it during election year is a good thing. But what Biden is doing inadvertently is making, and I'm repeating myself, but is forcing Trump to make a moral claim on abortion. If abortion is objectively wrong, it should be wrong at the highest level of government, just like slavery. And that's why, personally, I supported the Civil Rights Act, is because it made something that was clearly wrong at the highest court in the land. And it is constitutional because of the 14th Amendment. But prior to the 14th Amendment, the Civil Rights Act would have been unconstitutional, because it was ruling on something that wasn't enumerated as a power of the federal government in the Constitution, in one of the 7 articles. But the 14th Amendment made it so that the Congress could rule on things pertaining to racism and segregation and life in liberty, basically personal liberties. So now now federal government can rule on those sort of things, and that's what they did with the Civil Rights Act. I'm a constitutionalist, so I support that. Biden is saying that, well, Roe v. Wade, that made it constitutional. That made abortion a constitutional right, which is a good thing, because the left says that abortion is the civil rights issue of the day, which is BS. It's BS.
Well, no, they're right. It's a civil rights issue of the day for the babies.
For the babies, yeah. It's not for the mothers, for the babies. That's a good point. I have it inverted. But he's bringing up a good point. So if abortion is wrong, it should be wrong at the highest level. And this is interesting. And we made a video about this because we wanted to get past the noise of, yes, Biden's wrong, we like Trump, whatever. And I'm still going to vote for Trump, even though I disagree with him on this issue. But it's good for Trump supporters to be willing to talk about this, especially in the election year, and get past the noise of, what do we believe about abortion? If it is wrong, it should be wrong completely. There should be no exceptions. If it is murder, right? I mean, like, that's just a basic issue. And I honestly
do, like, going back, I do think Trump honestly believes that there should be exceptions for rape and incest.
Oh, yeah,
I don't think that he's a complete abolitionist.
No, he's not.
But I agree. I think that I'm glad that this debate is actually being had, and that I'm glad that, like you said, I'm repeating you, but that Trump admitted his position, because what does the future of the Republican Party look like? Trump is here for a time.
Yep.
I'm not saying God instituted Trump, but he did, because he got voted in, so therefore he did.
Well, God raises up rulers and brings them down, so whether they're good or bad, God placed them there.
Right, so as Christians, because you can be a Republican but not a Christian, and there's that faction. But this is a rightly divisive issue.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing that we need to remember. It's like, oh, it's divisive. Oh, let's just focus on the things that are
Inclusive and unifying.
Yeah. We're the Republican Party. We're the party of the people. Oh, let's just be unifying. This is a separate. No, this is not like a marijuana. This is not a.
Yeah, higher taxes, whatever.
Yeah. Or like, look what happened. We can look back to not that long ago. Gay marriage. How'd that work out for us by compromising on that issue?
Now we're dealing with the full onslaught of the LGBTQ agenda on our kids and even dipping into pedophilia.
And gay marriage was rightly understood throughout all of history. Even Joe Biden had admitted it. Marriage is between a man and a woman. There's no compromise. So in the same way, life begins at conception. To take a life unjustly is murder. So let's not, those of us who are Christians and those of us who believe that, let's not let people tell us that this is something that we should not be willing to stand up for.
Oh, I'll let people tell me that. I'll just say they're wrong.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. And at some point, I mean, Trump is here for a time now, but I would want to require my next Republican nominee to say, take that hard stance on abortion, or else maybe I might not vote for you. I hope that there's, in the next Republican primary, that there is an abolitionist candidate. That's a big dream.
That's a dream. Someone that's willing to say that. We're getting there. We're closer.
Yeah.
But we're getting there. But I mean, we can't. There's something else that I'm watching over this again. I didn't realize at first. But the moderator, I think her name's Dana or something. The moderator lady, she said 2/3 of all abortions are from abortion pills. And she said that the Supreme Court ruled in favor of the pill. And Trump said, I agree with that, and I will not block that. So he's definitely not
an abolitionist.
No. I mean, it's better than friggin' Joe Biden, because at least, there's some decency. But we can't just brush over that either. Like that seems to be the most egregious thing Trump said. Is that he wouldn't even block it.
But
because
I guess
now the Supreme Court is on a federal level making rulings about abortions. Shouldn't he, if he's consistent, shouldn't he be like, well, if he's consistent with his own belief, shouldn't he be like, the Supreme Court shouldn't be making rulings about this?
Yeah, but I mean, if you're being fair to him, maybe he meant that in terms of jurisdiction. Like, if I'm president, I'm not going to go against the Supreme Court. Maybe that's what he was, because it's irrelevant, I guess, really, if you're a president and you go against the way the Supreme Court works now, what the Supreme Court does becomes law, basically.
Yes.
So it doesn't really matter. It matters in terms of if you're appointing a Supreme Court justice. It's good for the future of America that Biden brings up that point.
It's going to help not only broaden the political landscape, but refine it.
Yeah.
Smooth it out. It's going to draw clearer lines in the sand pertaining to these issues, because the Bible says in Luke that truth divides. Jesus said, I have not come to bring peace but a sword, and that sword he is referring to is truth. It will divide a father against mother, a son against a daughter. Like, it will divide people, close families. He's using the metaphor of family,
right?
And he's saying that's a good thing, because truth needs to be spoken, and truth will always divide.
Right.
Truth divides.
And
Our first ever podcast, we had a sign back there that says truth divides. It's important, and it's okay. We have to lean into it. We can't be afraid of controversy.
For sure.
If we are standing up for the cause of truth, for the cause of Christ.
And it's important because, amen, by the way, it's not just about the abortion issue. It's not just about the morality issue. That's almost, in a lot of these debates, a separate issue. It becomes an issue of, what is the role of the president in this issue? That is where the real debate lies. Because that is where you get a nation from the top down making a just law. And like that, this is where, I don't know, it creates a whole deeper theological, especially as Christians, like, what do we actually believe as Americans? What is our country going to look like in 30 years, 50 years? Will we have a country? Because certain things, as George Mason rightly predicted in the Constitutional Convention, that all men are born petty tyrants. If you're a slave owner, you're a tyrant. What should happen to tyrants? They should be thrown out. Overthrown.
Yep.
So in the same way, if a nation is owning slaves as a nation and upholding that, God will judge that nation. That's what George Mason said. You could say it's a prophecy. And what was that judgment? The Civil War. So no, I'm not saying we should have a civil war over abortion, but I'm saying the natural consequence of that is that God will judge a nation that continually upholds
Yes.
such debaucherous
Yes.
murder, the murder of children.
Yes.
God God will not be mocked.
Yeah. Whatever you sow, you will reap. Yeah.
So
You sow sexual deviance and the murder of children, murder of babies, you will reap a destroyed nation and you will reap God's judgment. So
amen.
Be
So,
warned.
praise God that God is using somebody like Joe Biden to bring up such a deep conversation.
Yes. And I don't think most people thought about that in that way. I hope more people did, but that just caught my attention. I thought that was a really good point. So this wasn't clickbait. I do believe Joe Biden had a good point and he just did not realize it. Thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Sam Mealy
My name is Hunter Young.
and we are the
Sons
Sons of Liberty.